In this tutorial, I want to talk about how to go through and model an object out of primitives, but not necessarily primitives, more like primitives plus, primitives that we've gone through and we've actually textured already. So I want to build a weapon rack for the various different swords and shields I've been making lately. So if you look at these weapon racks, they're generally made out of very primitive shapes. So here's what we're going to do. Well, we could go through and model the entire object and then UV unwrap it. We're going to try and go things a little bit differently. And we're going to make a post. And then we're going to go ahead and build it entirely out of a post. And so here's what I mean. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to make a box. And I'm going to make it about 1/4 meter by 1/4 meter by 2 meters high. I'm going to make that here in perspective. Right? This is a really thick beam as tall as a person. So looking at it, I realize that's probably way bigger than I need. So we'll do 12.5, 12.5. Okay, that's better. All right, so here I got a long post. It looks like, if I'm looking at these, some of them have little dowels, so maybe I'll do a cylindrical one, and some of them have some kind of planks on them, so maybe I'll do one of those as well. So let's come over. Let's make a clone of this guy. I'm just going to move it over here. I'm going to call this plank. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a cylinder. I'm just going to click and drag here on the top. And move this over a little bit as well. Alright, so first off, I'm going to make our cylinder a little bit taller. We'll make him... there is no science to what I am doing right now. I am just making a couple of objects here. 2.5 units wide. And we'll give it, keep it at 4 height segments, but we are going to reduce its size to 8. And then this guy that we want to turn into our plank, we're going to make him, there we go. Okay, so these are going to be the start of our objects. So, as we want to get a little bit more form, I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to do a little bit of processing to them. I'm going to convert them all into edit poly. And so what I do want to do is I'm going to go in here, I am going to bevel their edges. Or I should say chamfer them. Ever so slightly though. There we go. And I'm just going to add a couple edges to this guy. There we go. That'll help with baking and lighting. I'll do the same thing to this one. Just go in here to edge mode, and we're going to chamfer him just a little bit. And then we're going to grab and add a couple edges in here. Okay, let's go to our last one. On this guy, all I want to do is I'm just going to take this top point. I'm going to extrude this up just a tiny bit. And then just scale it in just a little. Same thing on the bottom. I'm going to take this point, I'm going to extrude it out, scale it in just a little bit. Alright. So now that I've done that on these various objects, I'm going to go through here and I'm going to take this guy and I'm just going to assign one smoothing group to it. Same thing for the next one. And I'm going to go into Element, click on it, clear all, assign one smoothing group. Alright, so let's go ahead and I'm going to save these. So the next step, I got my plank, my beam, just going to call this post. It's called stick. There we go. That's better. All right. Add these objects before I can throw them into Substance Painter and generate a base set of UVs for them. I do need to unwrap them. So I do have two options here. I do know what I'm going to make, and so maybe what I'll do is just attach them together and UV unwrap them all together so that I get one object that actually has these, they'll be able to utilize the one texture sheet. All right, there we go. We're going to go into unwrap UVW. Actually, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is put a UVW map on the whole thing. Y and fit. And I'm going to collapse 2 to make that permanent. Now I'm going to put a new unwrap on. Notice I am not in a sub-object. Unwrap, open UV editor. There's my objects. And so what I need to do is just unfold them. So I'm just going to define the areas where I need to unfold these objects at. And so I'm just going to go through and pick the seams where I want to be able to do that. I'm going to orbit. Using orbit works out great because orbit will allow you to orbit around exactly whatever it is you currently have selected. And I'm just going to keep working my way through and around. And this edge, I just want to convert, oops, this edge I want to convert over to being a seam. There we go. All right, grab that loop. All right, that's more than I wanted. Let's go down to the bottom here. I don't want this, oops, I don't want this bottommost poly. So we'll convert these over, and now I'm going to take these edges, get rid of the ones I don't want here. Okay, I'm going to set those to convert, and now I should be able to just, in polygon mode, select the poly, expand it, and unfold it. Well, it didn't quite work like I had expected. I think I missed a spot there. So let's take a look at these guys. It looked, you know what I did? I put seams going up and down on both sides. What I meant to do was actually just only do one seam going all the way down. So I used stitch there, and now I'm going to use weld to weld them all back together. I'll take these guys and weld them together. There we go. And then I don't really want this random guy kind of floating out here. So let's select him. Actually, if I just hit pack, there we go. Alright, I just need to get the top of this guy to actually have some geo. Let's select him. Oh. Weird, it's not letting me select that guy. I'm going to convert this to an edit poly because it seems like my unwrap UPW has a glitch. Alright, I can select that polygon again. I'm now going to get out of editable poly, apply a new unwrap UVW, open the UV editor, and see if I can select that polygon on the very top. And now I can, and I can planar map it. So there we go. Let's turn that off. Let's planar map all these little straggler guys that are over to the side. There we go, we peeled them. And I think that I can just stitch some of these together because that's what I want to do. Alright, let's tools, relax, the polygon angle. There we go. Everybody's got scaled a little better. Let's zoom in on this guy. I need to weld that together. These guys I'm going to break apart. And I'm going to take this edge and stitch that together. There we go. That looks a lot nicer to me. I'm going to stitch that back together. weld these verts, going through, just kind of welding. And I'm just working to kind of overall clean up. Gonna clean this thing up a little bit. Yeah. Excuse me. I don't really want this guy just kind of hanging here. So I'm going to select him and break him, and then use stitch to put him back on. I think I'll take that one poly off of there, and I'm going to break him off and then stitch him back on here as well. So now I only got the cap at the very top. And let's do some consistency here. I'm going to grab all these guys. You know, I kind of like this aesthetic a little bit better. I think that's what I'm going to do to unify them. I'm going to change this guy up at the top here. So let's make this full screen so it's easier for you to see. I'm going to take all these and break them off, and then I'm going to go through and individually just kind of break the individual components. So let's see, I should be able to go through and start stitching all these back together, which it's true, I can, and I did. Alright, there's my beam end, so let's get this beam end in there as well. So there you go. As you can see, it doesn't always go perfectly smooth. Sometimes you gotta kind of adjust it and work on it as you go. So the relax went crazy when I performed it on these other objects because none of them were actually peeled at all. They were still fully solid objects. So I'm just going to take this one polygon on the end as well as the one on the bottom, just planar map those, say fit, and repack. And then here I'm just going to grab an edge, let's say this one here. I'm going to loop select and define that as a seam, and then just grab that whole thing and peel it and relax it. Right, there we go. So now, excuse me, I have one last object to unwrap, and it's just this beam here. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to select the polygon at the top, or at the bottom. I'm going to select the polygon at the top. And I'm going to grow that so that I get those chamfers all on those one pieces. I'm going to planar map those, fit it to them. And then I'm going to peel and relax them. And then I'm just going to take this one edge over here on the side. I'm going to loop select. I'm just going to deselect the ones I don't want, because really all I want is just the edges for one side, because I just want to take this entire box that this thing is and just completely unfold it. Right, like just lay it out completely flat. Alright, so I have those selected. I'm going to convert that to a seam and then select this object here and peel it and relax it. Okay. Now when I pack custom, they all pack in here nice together. I can even take the edges. If I turn off select by element, I could take the edges and pack them together like this. We can do the same thing here with the oops, well, that seems weird. Maybe we won't take those and stitch those together. Yeah, it took the top and really kind of forced it in there at an odd shape, so maybe we will not do that. That seems really weird. Alright, so I mean it should be able to just take this one edge. There we go. That was what I expected to happen the last time. Alright, let's move this guy down here. And we should be able to just, yep, peel those together. He did go on the inside, so we just need to relax that. Okay, so here we go. This is our texture page for our beams. If we wanted to have an alternate set of textures for them, we could go through and squeeze an extra one in here. Maybe we will just make this as a 2-to-1 texture inside there. So just take this and pull this over. we go. Okay. Alright, so this is all I want for my beams. Convert this to edit poly. Beam, I'm just going to say file, export selected. And I'm going to go to my beam folder. There we go. Or posts. Posts is what I called it. Posts underscore LP. Okay. So now I'm going to take those into Substance. File, new, select, and I'm going to go to that same folder and import the posts. There they are. Hold Alt to move over your canvas. And now I don't have a high poly for these, and you don't always need a high poly, so I'm just going to take this as is and say Bake Mesh Maps. I'm going to use the low poly mesh as the high poly mesh and just hit Bake Default. You always need to at least bake default using your low poly as your high poly. The big thing that I forgot here is that I need to go through and I need to actually make one quick change, and that is I need to go in and I need to change the texture resolution. This is going to be 1024 by 2048. So now when I bake my mesh maps, I'm going to change that as well to be 1024 by 2048. So we'll go ahead and we'll bake this out one more time. And so it's generating those textures. And now I'm going to go to Smart Materials, and I'm going to try to select something that I did not download off a Substance Share, but a default one. So let's scroll down here. I'm just going to throw in, I believe any of these woods would work fine. Like if I'm going to throw in what I have this wood chest style as. You don't have to use that one. You can certainly use a different one. I'm going to take this, and I just want to find, so the base is just the color. I need to float my properties window out here so I can see it. Oh, come on. I'll float him as a separate one sitting underneath. There we go. Okay. I'm trying to get that thing to dock. If I rotate this 90, yeah, he's got nothing. Alright, but this guy, the rotation, I change that to 0. That should, there we go. And we could double check these other ones and see if there's anything related to them. This guy, the wood pattern, yeah, we'll put that to 0. If I set him to 90, yeah, he's really not doing anything there. Okay. Wood fibers, he's going left to right. Let's change that to 90. No? Is it under the fill? Yes, it is. Change that to 90. Okay, so apparently that one is doing nothing. Great. Okay, so you see here, I now have a wood pattern that goes on these. And so I'm just going to take this, do File, Save, because I want to save as I'm working. And then I'm going to go ahead and File, Export out my textures. And you're going to want to go in and definitely specify which type of config you need and export them out. Alright, so now if I come back into Max and I take a look at what I have, I'm just going to make a standard material and assign these. And then if I come here to my post folder, I'm just going to real quick change the name on this to simplify it. It's going to be post underscore BC for base color, underscore N for normal, and this one I'm going to change to AORM for ambient occlusion, roughness, and metallic. So let's bring over the base color and plug that in. Inside Max, this is really the only one I want to see. Set to show realistic. Alright, now I got some base textures on my wood here. Alright, so let's make sure we save this. So that's how you go through and you make some very basic wood beams. I'm going to make a separate tutorial to talk about how to turn these into, use these to model. Although, one thing I do want to do real quick is I'm going to take them, I'm actually going to detach this as W, and this one I'm going to detach it, and then this one I'm going to keep as W underscore beam. So let's double check this. I'm misspelled branch. Okay, so I'll make a separate tutorial on how to turn those into items. What I do want to do though is I'm going to go Effect Pivot Only, center it to the object, and then in movement mode, I'm just going to change this to each individual one. I just want to move those pivots so they sit down at 0. Right? That way when I go to place them, I'll be able to place them like this. Alright, there you go.